game, we got to talk about this game because it was phenomenal. It was absolutely great. There's one thing that the Spurs decided to do that I've been yelling about this entire time. It was like that SpongeBob clip, you know, when they were like, "Hey, this is what we've been waiting for this whole time," and all SpongeBob had to do was cook. All he had to do was cook, and that was me talking to Mitch Johnson. Just this one thing, man. And I think the Spurs are better, and he did it. Well, he was kind of forced to do it, but he did do it. So we're gonna talk about this game. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this segment. So we'll talk about the game. I'll go over some BetUS stuff, obviously, and then I'll take a look and we'll just talk to the chat here. All right, so let's go ahead and dive straight into this. Everyone's excited about this, okay? I'm excited about this. Good God, the San Antonio Spurs put on an absolute show in that fourth quarter. I don't want to be negative. All right, I don't want to be a negative Nancy here. But the only thing I'm worried about is only one thing. It's literally one thing that I'm worried about. Everything else is fine. It's one thing I'm worried about. Is that can the Spurs do this away? That's all I need. I just need them to be consistent in away games as well and bring that same energy. But luckily for us, it doesn't necessarily look like the Spurs are getting lucky or it's just momentum shifts. Like, it's not just that. It's the immense of talent, and they've been very consistent with what they are doing on the defensive end. That's the one thing that we can hang our hats on, okay? When our offense gets a little iffy, you know, Wemby doesn't necessarily have, you know, a go-to area on the court, which is fine. He did great tonight. I mean, he did pretty good tonight. He was under 500, but he did pretty good tonight. You know, we just don't have it. We just don't have it right now. We're not going to have it. But one thing that they can hang their hats on, they've been consistent with, is good individual defense and pretty great team defense. So they've been consistent with that, and I don't think that that's going to change, okay? I have a very hard time, at least when these two guys on the court. Well, actually, I'm going to say three. When these three guys are on the court, Castle, Victor Wembanyama, and Champagnie, that they're going to give you anything less than their best effort defensively, no matter if they're home or they're away. So I think that that's one thing we can hang our hats on, and we don't necessarily have to worry about that. So with that being said, okay, this game, I didn't think the Spurs would do it. I'd be honest with you. I did not. When the third quarter hit, and, you know, they were keeping it kind of close, and then the Warriors opened it up, and we were down by like 17. I was just like, look, the Warriors number one in the West. This is going to be a tough, you know, comeback. And, like, don't get me wrong, we have great defense, but it's just going to be difficult, right? But the Spurs did it, and they did it pretty quick. Hold on, let's go to the third quarter. We're just getting all the positives out of the way. And I actually have no negatives, to be honest with you, but in the third quarter, let's see when the Spurs got down by like 17. Let's see, 68-56, 74, 75. Here we go. It was like 3 minutes left. 3 minutes left in the game. Down 77-60. Started off down by about 12. But the Spurs battled it, kept it somewhat close, and then they just absolutely destroyed us, right? Now, this is where things got interesting. As soon as Zach Collins sat, Vic came in. Steph Castle, he made a 2-point shot off of a Victor Wembanyama assist. And then it was a foul. It was a stupid foul, by the way. I don't think that this was a foul, but they called a foul. Malachi Branham got to the free throw line. And all this is just great defense all the way around. Malachi hit a 2-point shot. And then Steph Castle hit a huge 3. And then he made a 2-point shot to get us within 10. At that point, going into the fourth, I was pretty convinced that we would go ahead and take care of this win. Because I just knew how clutch our defense has been in these games. And it's going to be a lot on the Warriors, especially when they're not the biggest team in the world, right? Going against Victor Wembanyama, he can basically just get any shot he wants on the court. He's just not necessarily there. He doesn't necessarily have the strength yet, but he can get any shot he wants on the court. So anyways, fourth quarter was great. we all know what happened. Spurs battled it out. They came back. Steph Castle was incredibly clutch, mind you. So the Spurs are tied 90-90. The entire fourth quarter, they're frustrating the Warriors. Like the Warriors can't get a good shot off. They can get shots off, but not good shots, not quality shots, because we were so suffocating. And you have Steph Castle makes a driving layup to tie it 90-90. Then he came down, a few seconds later, said, you know what? I'm going to give y'all a three-piece. And off of a Victor Wembanyama assist, he gave us a three-piece, or he gave the Warriors a three-piece, that is, no sauce. And then 15 minutes, Victor was like, you know what? I'm going to give y'all another three-piece. And that was assisted by Steph Castle. So Victor and Steph, if you guys wanted, that connection, that chemistry, they had it. Those two had it. Says stop doubting the Spurs. Angie, why do you type like that? Wait, you're putting me in there. Okay, I gotta get to that. Yeah, okay. I gotta circle back around to that comment. How am I the one that's... Anyways. All right, so scrolling down. Then Harrison Barnes, he was clutch off of Victor Wembanyama assist. Everything is Victor Wembanyama, by the way. He just completely took over. It was him, Steph Castle, but all of these plays was because of Vic. Gave it to Harrison Barnes and made a layup. And what's scary about the Spurs with all of this, I haven't even talked about the stats of the players. What's scary about this team is that they haven't played together at all. And they look so good at times. They have not played together. I said this last season or near the end of last season. I really did believe that all Vic needs is just high IQ players around him. And it'll just click because he made so many high IQ plays last season, but we just didn't necessarily have the personnel to go with it. The addition of Castle, Chris Paul, and Harrison Barnes, all three of which very highly skilled, high IQ players, makes it pretty special, right? It makes it pretty doggone special. There was one play in particular I really liked. I don't remember. Did it come in the fourth or the third? You guys can remind me on this. But Vic had a wide open Chris Paul, and the entire play, if you go back and you watch the play, the entire play, Chris Paul, he was open. Like he was absolutely open. And I thought that they were just missing him. And he actually, like, you could tell him get not actually upset. It's just basketball, right? But he was like, I'm open. You could hear his voice like coming through the TV, right? And Wemby had him wide open, but he also realized this is a better shot. He's not going to just give it to Chris Paul because he's a veteran. He's not going to give it to Chris Paul just because he's open. He took it upon himself and said, this is a better shot. I'm 7'5". I'm going at, how do you say his name? Podziemski? I liked him in the draft. I can't remember how to say his name. Podziemski? Brandon Podziemski? He was like, I'm just going to go with him. Like, he's too small. I'm going to get a layup in. And he did that. And Chris Paul shut up. He shut up real quick. He even had like a grin on his face. So I love that. I love that so much. I love that the team is just taking it upon themselves. They're just all hoopers. It's not like I'm too young. I have to just defer to Chris Paul. I have to defer to Harrison Barnes. No, we're all ballers. Wemby's better than both of them. Take over. It's your team. And I liked that. I liked that a lot. Wasn't selfish. It was just this is a better shot. AirPods? Pods? Okay. Pods has been real bad this season. Well, I'm just saying I liked him in the draft. So, yeah. So, I loved that. Let's see. What else, man? Harrison Barnes was great, but he's always been great. He's been great basically all these games. Even when he's having a bad shooting performance, he's still consistent enough in other facets of the game that keeps him dangerous. So, I'm not really, nothing really to say there. Now, Castle, I know that's the one where everyone is excited, and I'm super excited too, dude. He is going to be a star. I think right now I would say he's the fourth best player on the team, and, in the next coming years, I can't say this with all the confidence in the world because 2025, it's a great draft. But I think as far as the players we have right now, he's going to be better than Sohan, and he's going to be better than Vassell, right? Like, I think undoubtedly he's going to be better than those two. I think he'll be a star in the NBA. So as far as what role he'll play on the team, we don't really know yet. But I love him as a point guard. I think starting point guard is okay, a-okay. All right, it's a-okay. His defense is great. His IQ is great. He's clutch. He's a winner. You don't win. I said this before, but like with UConn, if you watch UConn throughout the tournament, it wasn't that Castle was just there. It wasn't like, oh, he was just part of the team, came off the bench or something and didn't really contribute. He was a huge part. I don't know if they won that last championship or they win that last championship without Castle. He was a huge part of it. Always kept a calm demeanor, made big plays, didn't care about the stat sheet. Sometimes he didn't look that great, right? You look at his stats and it's like, oh, he's terrible. But no, if you actually watch the games, he was really great. He was great defensively, offensively. He was great. He played more of a connector role, so people didn't get to see how much utility you can get out of a player like that as a facilitator at times. So he was more so a connector, but he was awesome. He was absolutely awesome. He plays winning basketball, and it's nice that we're starting to see that, in real, actual NBA games against real competition. All right, true competition. Beating the Jazz, we should have beat the Jazz. Okay, I don't care how many players we have down. All right, you got Steph Castle, Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes. You should beat them. But this was a test, and it's not like the Warriors were playing lackluster. Now, I know that Steph, isn't he coming off the injury? Let's see. I haven't kept up with the Warriors a lot. Am I tripping? Or was he just hurt going into the season? I don't know. You guys can correct me on that. I'm not 100%. He been back, I thought. Yeah, it looks like he has. Maybe I'm just tripping. Okay. Yeah, maybe I'm just tripping. Or maybe did he get banged up? I don't know. But what I do know is this was by far, this is facts, this was by far his worst performance of the season. It was undoubtedly his worst performance of the season. He had the worst field goal percentage of any game this season. Worst 3-point percentage of any game. Well, no, other than the Cleveland game, November 8th, it looks like. He had a worse 3-point percentage. But what's really telling when you look at his stats is, yes, don't get me wrong, Steph Curry is phenomenal 3-point shooter, greatest 3-point shooter to ever walk this earth, and he's going to take a lot of threes. But I think in this game, the context of this game, him taking 10 threes just shows how ridiculous, how much of a hawk the Spurs were on him. Like it felt like, okay, now I'm settling, right? He wasn't going to be able to get to the paint because of Wemby. Steph Castle is just not giving you a lot of room, and he's fighting around screens like a madman. He's just not giving you a lot of space. And I thought that Steph Curry really struggled. Now, if we were in a 7-game series, I think that Curry could have, came back, right? I mean, he could have in his second game 2, game 3. I think he will have some good showings. But we don't care about that. In this game in particular, it was amazing. Steph Castle was all up on him. He just looked uncomfortable. And the shot that he did, there was 1 3 that he made, okay? He made 3, but there was 1 3 in particular he made where it's like, yeah, only Curry can make that shot. I mean, he shot over Champagnie and Castle, both of which made the right read to close in on him. But he's just Steph. Now, let me go ahead and just say this. Okay, well, I'll get to it in a minute. There's one thing in particular that the Spurs did at the end, and then I'll look at the comments in a second, that I'm just so happy that they actually did it, dude. It drove me crazy that they weren't doing it to begin with. So before we do that, big shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this segment, as always. I wanted to look at, after this win, NBA champions and the Spurs' likelihood of winning a championship. Super low. But it's not the worst, okay? It's not the worst. Now, this is actually a good telltale sign, okay? Because you can see the Atlanta Hawks has a much worse chance. And that's what we want, right? It's an indicator that the Hawks suck, all right? It's an indicator that they're awful, and it's a good indicator for us that we could potentially, get 2, first-round picks. And the funny thing about it is the Hawks are in the East, a objectively worse conference, and yeah, their odds of getting a championship is way worse than the Spurs, like 5 times worse than the Spurs. So if you wanted to bet on the Spurs, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't recommend it. Let's say you want to do $10 to give you $1,500. All right, you'll make $1,500 if the Spurs win the championship this year. But if you're gonna do it, I definitely suggest you go with the Celtics, or well, that's not gonna give you that much. You probably need to risk a little bit. I don't know, Celtics, Nuggets, Thunder. Thunder's a little bit more, something like that. Or the winnings is a little bit better. But anyways, if you guys are interested in BetUS, go check it out. Use promo code YouTube150. Receive 150% bonus on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your second and third deposit, up to $2,000. Go check that out. And like I said, use promo code YouTube150. All right, so as far as what I seen in this game, what the heck? Oh, I forgot we were on Steph Curry stuff. Hold on, let's go to this. So what I saw from this game, that I was so happy, and they were forced to do it. Mitch Johnson was forced to do it, okay? So I can't give him too much credit for this. But I guess 2 things. Number 1, rotations were on point. He had really great rotations in this game. They obviously had a concrete game plan with, who was here, who wasn't. And the Spurs aren't going to play you just because you got X amount of minutes last game. They're not going to do that. He did a really good job as the flow of the game went, adjusting and who's helping us more than others. Very typical coaching stuff, but I thought the rotations were solid. And with that being said, one thing in particular that he was forced to do was, in the game, or a big chunk of the fourth quarter, play Julian Champagnie. I do not understand for the life of me why we have not been finishing games with Julian Champagnie. I don't know what you're getting out of, and I'm not. This is not going on a hate train, okay? I just didn't understand what you were getting out of playing Keldon over Champagnie in these fourth quarters. I don't. Defense, Champagnie's obviously better. Offense, Champagnie hasn't been giving you that much offensively, but Keldon hasn't been giving you anything in the fourths. I don't get it. I don't get it. Keldon in the OKC game was hot going into the fourth. Meanwhile, Julian, who ended with 11 shots, 3 for 5 at the end of the first half. I agree with having Keldon start the fourth quarter. Oh, well, okay. I guess I need to rephrase it. I didn't understand finishing the game off with Keldon Johnson. I don't get it. I don't know what you're getting out of it, I don't know. I don't get it. I think at the end of the day, a big chunk of the fourth quarter should be, players that are going to finish strong, right? And they've been doing a good job of making sure, or at least in this game, they made a good job making sure who's going to finish strong. I think they finished with Trey Jones. Obviously, he's a good finisher, right? He's not going to make a lot of dumb mistakes at the end of games. They finished with him, Castle. You're going to always finish with Castle. He's just that guy. No matter who you get in the 2025 draft, Castle is going to be a finisher in these games. They didn't finish with Chris Paul, which is fine because you're finishing with Trey Jones. Vic, obviously, Harrison Barnes, and Julian Champagnie. Why in the heck would you not end it with Julian? I don't get it. Or a big chunk of the fourth with Julian. I don't get that. Because he did a great job defensively. He didn't need a lot of help defensively. He was a good help defender. He just did a great job all the way around. Seniority, that's stupid. I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm saying like that's dumb. Like we don't need to do that anymore. What's the point of that? That's my thing. In GS, you says Keldon is streaky. Sometimes you can finish with him, but when he starts to play hero ball or sleep on defense, then bring Julian. It's too often. I don't want a streak. It's fine if he's coming off the bench and being a spark plug. That's cool. That's fine. That's cool. You can start off quarters with Keldon and be totally fine. That's cool. All right. If you're down, like in this game when we were down, I don't think Keldon would have hurt us. I think he actually would have helped us in those situations. That's fine. If we need a shot, that is absolutely fine. But when it's the last like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, everything changes. Teams play smarter. You don't need a streaky player out there. It's been the same thing for all of the role players that we've had. You don't want a streaky player out there. You need somebody that's going to be pretty consistent, at least in one area of the game. At least in one. Danny Green, we can say what we want about Danny Green, okay? I mean, Lord knows I have, okay? It got to a point in his career he was very streaky offensively, but you could always lean on him defensively. And in those fourth quarters, the end of the fourth quarters, you can lean on him. It's fine for him to be out there. So that's my thing. So I'm glad that they at least got a sample size of what it looks like if you just end with it was nothing dumb. No one made any like crazy mistakes. It was pretty solid. Castle almost gave up the ball at the end, but he didn't, he didn't. And yeah, it was just good overall. And by the way, some people that it was a few people. It was a few people after the last video or a couple videos ago where they said, well, Clan, they actually weren't getting on to Keldon about the tech at the end of the game. It wasn't the tech they were getting on to him about, Chris Paul and Barnes. So it was actually because of the dunk or something, or not the dunk. It was like, oh, because he didn't take care of the ball and it almost got stolen. I was like, no. Harrison Barnes said after the game that they talked to him about the tech. So unless Harrison Barnes is just lying, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. But enough about that. So let me just let that be known. I know whoever sees this video in the future and they're like, oh my God, you're going on a rant about Keldon again. I just think that this game shows that you need games with strong finishers. Are you going to make mistakes here and there? Yes, sure. But it's too often. It's way too often. Okay, way too often for comfort. He's not going to change that. He's that type of player. That's fine. I don't hate Keldon. I like Keldon. I think that he's a really strong player when it comes to when you're down, by a deficit, or you just need a little bit of a spark plug. He's great for that. I just don't like finishing games with him. He's not consistent enough of a finisher. And it was the same thing last year too. So it's not like I'm just going off of a few games and I'm just being, reactionary. I'm not. This is a long time coming. Oh God, is that true? Keldon injured his hammy on that dunk. Is that true? Is that why he was out today, dude? Jeez. You remember when he accidentally injured Julian Chimpini? Like his teeth hit his chin or something. I can't remember. Or was it his forehead? It might have been his forehead, and he was bleeding. It's always something goofy, man. It's always something silly. Was it Julian? I feel like it was Julian. That was last season. All right, let me go up to this comment because I promised I would react to it because it was kind of crazy. I was like, what the heck? Why you mention me for? All right, hold on. I'll bring it on screen. All right, where are you? Oh crap, does it stop? Oh, I guess it does stop. Okay, I think I can still find it on... That's weird. Oh, this is how I see super chats. Well, dang it, guys. When you give a super chat, I should just wait and then just go to here. I didn't know that. All right, well, I got the comment up over here. So, oh, wait, you can see it on here. No, you can't. All right, so the comment is from Angie. All you got to do is look at the individual talent and skill of each player and combine them together. That's all. And all this is in caps, by the way. We have a winning team, Clan. Just trust the process. Stop doubting the Spurs. When have I doubted the Spurs? I don't quite understand. I actually feel like my projection for where the Spurs will land this season is actually much more than what a lot of people think, right? I feel like a lot of Spurs fans rolled with... Oh, man, I should move this to the right a little bit. A lot of Spurs fans rolled with the Spurs winning 30 to 35 games, and my projection is 44. I don't know what you mean by doubted the Spurs. And also, I've always doubted, or I never doubted our front office either. Yeah, 44 wins is pretty charitable, and especially in the West, man. And also, I mean, the only thing I guess I can think of is you saying like, well, they're you don't think they'll make the playoffs, which I don't. But like, let's see, Spurs or not Spurs, let's do NBA standings. I'm basing off of last season. And yeah, for them to make the playoffs, like surely be in the playoffs, they got to have about 50 wins. I don't know, man. If you think they get 50 wins, I mean, that's fine. I just don't agree. That's a lot to ask for this team. But I think we're much better than last season. Oh, wait. You commented again. Just things that you say. Your wordplay is somewhat bad, but not just you, Clan. I'm talking about Spurs fans that has any doubts. My wordplay? Wait, Angie, are you the one? Angie, I feel like you're the one that was upset because I was like, at one point I was like, man, the Spurs are playing so filthy or something. Are you and I don't mean this in a like negative way, okay? I actually mean this in an honest way. Is English your first language? Cause like when you say, cause I'll say like the Spurs are nasty, right? But like that means good. Like laughing at me, Clan? Okay, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I don't know. I give up. I tried. I tried. What's the consensus on Blake Wesley? I like him. I like Blake Wesley. I given up on the idea that yes, that's me. I didn't know. Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. See? Yeah, like, yeah, that's like, it's not a negative thing. It's actually a good thing. Like, if I'm like, now, if I say they're trash, that's me being negative, but I don't say that. But if I say like they're filthy, like, oh my God, that was so nasty, that's actually a good thing. That means they were good. But yeah, anyways, Blake Wesley, I've given up on the idea that he's a point guard. I just don't think he'll be a suitable enough point guard. But he's similar to Steph. I mean, other than your passing ability, but similar to Steph, he's a guy that you can kind of fit into different places and be totally fine. He's not a lockdown defender, but he's a good defender, right? He gives you 110%. For the most part, he's pretty controlled. It's going to take a little bit more time for him to come into his own. I don't think he's fully where he needs to be yet, but overall, he's cool. I like him. All right, I like him. He's good. I like him a lot. And like I said, this game, I thought that coaching did a really good job of paying attention to the flow of the game, not overplaying players, not underplaying players. You saw that Blake Wesley was quite effective. I'm sure going into this game, they figured he would be quite effective. And yeah, they made sure to give him some minutes. So I do like having your core, and with, because this isn't the bench that we're going to have in the future. And even the starters, this isn't even the starters we're going to have in the future. But I do like playing your core and then, adjusting who you play that's coming off the bench. And I think the Spurs have the right type of guys to get that done too, because no one is selfish. No one cares. They just want to win. Like Chris Paul, he didn't finish this game, but I don't think he was sitting on the bench like, I really want to finish. He just wanted Castle to do well. He wanted Trey Jones to do well. And you just have the right type of guys on a team where you can afford to play this guy sometimes, not play him at all other times. It just depends. City Sissoko, I don't expect him to get any minutes. like whatsoever. He's just not there yet. But I still think that he could be a secret weapon in the future. Clan, don't you think us doing better and making adjustments after the first half is a sign of really good coaching at the halftime? Yeah, I think our coaching has been phenomenal, man. I think the adjustments, I think that the rotations, and I really like that Mitch Johnson is coming into his own, where you're starting to see him get onto players way more often, right? It seemed like he's like taking over, like, okay, this is, for at least for the time being, this is my team, I'm taking over. You're seeing him communicate with refs way more often than we did the first few games. So yeah, he's coming into his own, and it's great, natural at it. I wouldn't be surprised if, when it's all said and done, that Pop, vets him like, yeah, he's that guy. But you don't hire somebody, especially on the Spurs staff, right? You can see it with Becky Hammond. You don't hire somebody unless they're really good. They're good at what they do. So, yeah. Yep, Clan, you're right about Mitch. I could see him taking over for good. Yeah, and you know what? I think we should hold back expectations just a little bit. I do think that he's a really good coach. I think he's been doing a great job, but I think we need to reserve it just a little bit. Not because I think Pop is coming back, because I don't. I saw someone pretty upset in the comment section on my last video where I was like, yeah, I don't think Pop's coming back, guys. And they were like, you don't know that. It's up to him. And I'm like, at that age, I don't know. I just don't know that. I don't know. But I really want to hold back only because this isn't his program. It is Pop's program. Okay. These are, this is the foundation is Pop's. So I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, he's perfect and this, that, third. But I also don't want to say the other thing where it's like, oh, he won't be as good because he doesn't have a program. You just gotta wait. But I do think that as a coach, he's a good coach and he's fine. And one thing to keep in mind as well is it's a system, right? I think that one thing that's lost is, like, Popovich helped create the system that is San Antonio. How all these different departments, communicate with each other, how they're always going about it the right way. The ideology that Pop instills in his players, that is all about togetherness, that you're not above the team. All that stuff is great. And now it's like deeply embedded in San Antonio culture and deeply embedded into their system and the type of people that they get, the type of coaches that they hire. It's a whole system now. And I think that with having a system like that, if you take Popovich out of it, the system will still go, right? Like, the system will still go. You can see, you can look at all facets of life, right? We can look at, I don't want to get too deep about it, but we can look at politics. You could look at, I'm just trying to think of systems. Capitalism. You could look at the Amazon at this point, right? Like, you could look at big companies and see it too. If you take out the CEO or the president of some of these companies or whatnot, sometimes it does really matter. Like, some things are so big and they have such a good system of how things work, like Walmart. No one knows who comes in and out of Walmart as far as like the presidents of these higher positions. You don't know, because it's just such a good system, right? So I think that the Spurs, they've been chugging for so long and it's such a powerful system. And then you have Wembanyama right in the heart of it as far as your star power, and his personality is perfect for the Spurs. I think you take Pop out, they'll still be able to keep it going. You'll never get another Pop. You'll never have a good enough coach like Pop. But at the end of the day, you might not have to. Other coaches have created dynasties as well. I have been part of dynasties as well. So, I don't think Steve Kerr is a better coach than Pop or anything, And Steve Kerr took over the system, left by Marky Boy. And yeah, he has a dynasty. So yeah, I don't know. That's all I have to say. Yeah, Mark Jackson. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Just, it's going to keep chugging along. The system is there. You're going to be okay. But I think that's enough for this segment. Spurs did great. I think we kind of got off topic, but they did great. They did awesome. And it keeps going, man. It keeps going. You can't change the system. It's the same. It's the same system. It's the same system. All right. It's the same system. But let's not start. No one has done this, but yes, don't disrespect Pop. Right? Pop is the greatest of all time. He's still a far better coach than a lot of people in the NBA. But yeah, we should try Brett Brown as head coach. Why? Why? I mean, I'm cool with it. Brett Brown is a really good coach, but like, why? I think we should just wait it out. Just wait it out. I mean, these guys are responding to Mitch Johnson. I don't really see a point in that. And saying like stripping it from him next season, if that's the case, you know, just get it. I don't know. Pop is the best GOAT. He's the absolute GOAT. I really hope he's okay. I know that they say he's going through rehab and everything. So, yeah. Anyways, end this segment. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this segment.